What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to check out the glorious version 2 of their goat stabilizers. Version 1 came out a little over a year ago with the GMMK Pro. There's a ton of issues with it, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But right now, we're going to check out the version 2s that just came out a couple days ago. I got my hands on them for $5 because if you own the GMMK Pro, you're able to get them for $5. The actual MSRP is $10 on these, which is actually incredible compared to some of the other stabilizers and other vendors that are about $20, if not more, not even counting shipping. So $5, I guess you can say $10 for shipping too. So $15 in total. Actually not bad for a full set of stabilizers. So this is pretty cool. But yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, you get this side of the box. So you get wires 7U 6.25. And then you get your, I think your 4 2Us or whatnot. And then obviously you got the housings and the foam and then the screw-ins. So yeah, these are screw-ins, obviously. I love screw-ins, you guys already know that. I don't like clip-ons, they just annoy me and they're not as stable. They're nowhere near as stable as screw-ins in my opinion. For the most part, yeah, this is the glorious GOAT version 2s. Okay, so before we get into the version 2s or more into the version 2s, let's go ahead and jump back to the version 1s a little bit and tell you what's wrong with them and what people did and did not like. So for the most part, they came overlubed, factory overlubed. That's not good because that creates sluggish keys, slow when typing and whatnot. So that was the biggest complaint, is that they were factory overlubed. The best thing you could do with that is actually just remove the stabilizers and clean them yourself with soap and water and then put them back in and see if that works. Of course, without the lube, you're gonna get more rattling sounds and it's not gonna be as smooth or as quiet as you would like to be, but that's just something that can fix. You can put more lube and apply it yourself compared to being over factory lubed, where that's a separate issue in itself. Aside from that, a lot of the other issues, honestly, were that they were not smooth while typing. It was tough to press on, sluggish, obviously, with the overlubing. They get stuck while typing. That's obviously an overlubed. And then that there was pad inconsistencies with the stabilizers itself. All right, so naturally with all these issues, it makes sense for a company to actually go in and try to fix these issues and try to talk to people and see what's going on, because a lot of the YouTubers and all the other reviewers were having the same exact issues and even called out some other issues about the GOAT stabilizers. The cool thing is that Glorious actually, it seems like they hold them down and conducted questionings within their forums, questioning some of the reviewers and whatnot to see what they can improve on for their version 2s. And I believe before the version 2s came out, they actually did a beta testing within the forum. They actually did some questioning there and gave people an early testing of what the V2s were. So it's pretty cool that a company can come together and actually improve on its product with its customers and reviewers and whatnot. So that way, you know, they can fix on what was wrong with the first one. So like I mentioned before, I have the glorious GMMK Pro here. I didn't really do much to it. The only thing I really did was actually clean the stabilizers, because when I did get these were overlubed just like everyone else's. I was having so many stick problems with the spacebar, shift, you name it, actually anything that had the stabs on it. So I had to remove the stabs and clean them out. I didn't clean them out with soap and water, just wiped them out with the tissue. So it wasn't really the full extent of cleaning out, but they work a lot better now, but still. So we're gonna go ahead and do a deep dive into this. I'm gonna remove this, do a little B-roll, and then show you guys the inside of the V1s compared to the V2s. All right, now that we have the GMMK Pro disassembled, we took out the V1s and put them aside, laid them all out. That took a minute. There was just so many screws with the GMMK Pro with the gasket and whatnot, so taking that aside. But let's go ahead and start assembling the V2s and see how they are and compare and contrast them to the V1s. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of talk through this one as well. But so like I said, I set these aside here just to have some sort of like comparison point. So let's go ahead and open this up. Like I said, this is the pack right here. I wish I could get closer, but I don't have a macro lens, so this is as good as it's gonna get. But basically, gold one V2, silver V1. To me, right off the bat, the V2 looks a little bit bigger, like in terms of room for the inner to, you know, go up and down. And then also, if we flip it around, it just seems like a little bit bigger stab. More room for everything to kind of move around. Everything's not as tight. I did notice with the V1, the inner is a little bit tighter, and also this is a little bit tighter to this chamber right here. I can't really tell much until I have it set on the board and whatnot. So I just kind of want to just go through this and assemble it and do like a side-by-side comparison of it. Okay, so now that I finally got these done, lubed, and everything else assembled, so let's take a look at them actually from face value. So obviously, like I said, gold is V2 and then silver is V1. You can't really notice much of a difference right here. I thought there was a little bit less leeway in terms of this, like it was more tighter, these gaps and whatnot. But I don't necessarily think that's true in terms of like wiggling each stabilizer and trying to figure out if it is or not. So at face value, you can't really tell a difference, right? They kind of like the same thing. The true difference will be when we actually test them on the board itself and see, you know, if we can figure out some differences between rattling, if there's no rattling or whatnot, and how stabilized they are, the keycaps, when we actually get to test them out. So, all right, so now that we have the V2 finally assembled and compared with the V1s, let's go ahead and add it to the board itself. So what I wanna do with this actually is I wanna do 2 and 2. So 2 of the V1s on one side and then 2 in the V2s on the other side, or the space bar or whatnot. So I'm gonna do that so we can compare and contrast, because I think that's the best way to do it, honestly, to have it on the same board with the same padding and everything like that, so that we can actually see what the difference is. And here, possibly here, actually most likely here. I did wanna note one thing too. Because the GMK Pro only has 4 stabilizer sections, this came with a bunch more, so I have 3 more left, which I can use for a different build. So that's really cool actually. So I'll definitely utilize that in the future for a different video or whatnot. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get to the assembly of the board. All right, so now that I have the board all put back together and the stabilizers in place, let's go ahead and test them out with some keycaps and see how they sound. Starting from top right, this is the V1, V2 right here, V2 right here, and then V1 on left shift. So let's go ahead and place these in. For the switches, I'm gonna use Glorious Pandas, but just to keep it simple, let's go ahead and use the Pandas, because this is a glorious board, so why not use Pandas, you know what I mean? If anyone in the comments can help me with this, I don't understand. So I guess it's this keycap in general. This is the Mito Dev keycap set, I believe. But when I try to use this keycap, the space bar, it just doesn't work. It just stays stuck. I don't know if it's too heavy or whatnot, or it's just this keycap in general, but it just doesn't work no matter what. So let's go ahead and start with these, compare these. So V1 on the top backspace. And the sound might be different because I'm using my lapel mic instead of an actual mic that I use for the type test or whatnot. So it's not gonna be like the best sound, but I just wanna check the wobbliness and whatnot. All right, so not much of a difference. It is pretty stable actually. So wobbling is, you know, standard, I think. So not bad. So let's check the V2 now. Okay, about the same amount of wobble that you get with the V1. It is more stable than the V1, I think. The V1's a little bit more wobbly. So the spacebar is a V2, so let's go ahead and check that one out. Not much of a wobble, which is really nice because I'm so used to huge amounts of wobbles with spacebars. Very nice. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do these, or the last one, which is a left shift, which is the V1. Okay, not bad, not bad. It's pretty good overall. I think, I don't know, man. I think the V2s are an overall improvement for sure. They have less wobble. They feel sturdier. Yeah, in my opinion. All right, and just like that, that concludes our test for the comparison of the glorious V1 stabilizers versus the V2 stabilizers. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the V2s are a drastic improvement to the V1s. We saw in the test that the V2s are more stable, more consistent throughout than the V1s. And even though the V1s, when I got them originally, they were over lubed, taking out the lube, I did still notice some inconsistencies and wobbliness and whatnot. And I highly commend Glorious for taking the time and commitment to actually improving on a product that was already, you know, pretty decent compared to anything else on the market. So it really shows their testament to making great products, and I highly recommend these. And honestly, for the price point, $10 compared to what, $20 or $25 for stabilizers, you cannot beat that. And like I said before, if you have the GMMK Pro already, you can get these for $5 and then $10 shipping, I don't know, depending where you are, but honestly, still not bad. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. If you guys love the content and want to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the channel, comment below, and all that good stuff. We have some good videos coming out in this month and next month too, so be sure to check them out. But I'll see you guys then and catch you guys in the next one.